My name is Mandy Hamilton. I'm a police sergeant with Merseyside Police. I've worked for the organisation for 28 years, and for the past 5 years I've been the sergeant in response for the Travel Safe Partnership. Basically what Travel Safe Partnership is we work in partnership with Mersey Travel and with all the bus companies and British Transport Police to police the public transport network. Public transport staff have been identified as professionals to help with this campaign because they're the eyes and ears out on the public transport network. For example, bus drivers, frontline bus station staff all see people travelling on the transport, be it on the bus, be it on the train. And what we've identified is because women feel vulnerable on those routes, especially at night, that having those eyes and ears out there, somebody else to look out for people who look vulnerable or potential offenders, will reassure people and make them feel safer.
My name is Nikki Swanson and I work for Liverpool City Region Combined Authority. My role is the Travel Safe Partnership Officer. The Safer Streets campaign is about making people feel safer in the city centre, especially when they're travelling to and from the city centre. So my role is to make sure that people feel safe and secure when they are using public transport in the city region.
My name is Vicky Green. I work for RASA Merseyside, the Rape Crisis Centre in Merseyside. I'm the clinical lead. I am one of the tutors and one of the therapists there. So one of the things that we're aware of are areas such as bus stops and public transport, areas where women and girls have said they felt uncomfortable and unsafe at times. Public transport staff are really important in relation to this campaign. They're going to be around the places where we know where women and girls feel really unsafe, so they're integral to this process to know how to respond and to be the eyes and ears to make those streets and those areas of our city safer.
My name's Lorraine Wood. I work for RASA, which is the Rape and Sexual Abuse Centre in Merseyside. As Operations Manager for RASA, I have responsibility for the strategic development of the organisation. I hope staff gain confidence, first of all, so that they feel like they're able to intervene, but also that they gain a real understanding of what sexual harassment and sexual violence is, so that they can respond to it appropriately and respond to potential victims and survivors of abuse.
We need to educate people on the prevalence of sexual violence and to say that it's everybody's responsibility to create a safe and comfortable environment, and we need to listen to our survivors and victims for them to tell us what they need from us in order to respond better.
The issue of violence against women and girls is very topical at the moment, and too many women and girls are suffering sexual violence or unwanted sexual behaviours. Our research has shown that a number of women and girls have experienced sexual harassment and unwanted sexual behaviours once they've been out in the city centre, and they've also experienced this whilst they've been travelling on public transport. Obviously we want people to feel safe and secure when they are travelling on our public transport networks, especially women and girls, because they rely very heavily on public transport to get around, more so than men.
If you're a bus driver or a frontline transport worker, I would encourage you to be an active bystander, to put yourself in the situation of that female and say, is this right? Does this look right? Would I feel happy if that was a friend, a family member in that situation? And what would I want somebody else to do to make them safe?
If a staff member witnesses an abusive situation, then we would really like them to respond to that. So by either intervening if it's safe to do so, or getting support from somebody else to help them to intervene. I would say, like, what's really important in all of these situations is your gut instinct, and if you see something that you don't feel is right, then it probably isn't. So just act accordingly to everything that you've learned throughout this training. So whether that's about intervening straight away or finding an appropriate space or time to be able to do that, but understanding that it's never too late to get involved. And a lot of the time it takes one person to react, and once they do, others will come forward and help as well.
The 4 Ds of bystander intervention are direct, distract, delegate and delay.
Direct is about being direct and speaking out, challenging any negative behaviour and doing it calmly. And remember to always make sure you're not provoking any situation, and make sure that you keep yourself safe. Distract is about distracting the perpetrator and also distracting the victim and getting the victim away from an unsafe situation. So maybe, for example, there's a problem with your ticket, can you come and let me have a look at it?
Delegate is about seeking support from other people, those around you, or maybe, for example, if you are a bus driver and you drive past a bus stop and you see somebody distressed and there's another member of staff, maybe in some way you could seek support in helping you in that situation. Delay is about making sure that you never put yourself at risk, to have some time to consider the situation, also following your internal policy and procedures if that helps. But on that, in all of these, remember it's never too late to act.
If a member of staff sees a child or young person in a vulnerable position, then they need to react in exactly the same way, but almost always will probably need to contact the authorities as well. Creating a culture for disclosure comes from everybody. It's everybody's responsibility to make sure so that people take this issue seriously, people understand how people are affected by sexual violence and sexual harassment, and making environments really welcoming for people. So wherever you are on the streets or in a public place, you feel it's acceptable to talk to somebody. So we need to really minimise the jokes and the things that go on, to make people feel like I won't be taken seriously.
So the first thing is to be non-judgmental, is to let that person know that you're not judging them. They've done the right thing and you're believing what they're saying to you. And then just reassure that you can offer them support. That first person who hears that disclosure is a very important person. So it's really important that they offer a really non-judgmental, supportive attitude to that first disclosure.
Responding to victims or somebody who's been subjected to sexual violence is really easy. All you need to do is to be kind, listen to that person, tell them that you believe them and that you will get some help. So just be really reassuring. Don't make any promises that you can't keep, but just be kind and let that person feel heard and allow them to talk.
A staff member, if they've somebody presents to them that they've been a victim of sexual violence, I would ask that staff member to try and take them to a place of safety, take them to a place where they feel safe and secure. For instance, if it's at one of our bus stations, we can take them into a place there, reassure them, and then obviously call the police to report that. And just as I say, just give them that support and attention that they may need, and help them through that situation.
So we know that transport staff can have a huge effect. If they are there to intervene in a safe way and be non-judgmental if people disclose sexual violence, we know that this will make a huge difference in making girls and women feel safer on our streets of Merseyside.
Some of the barriers to disclosing sexual violence are mainly around shame and guilt and shame, and sometimes just as simple as not knowing where to go, not knowing who to report to and who to talk to. I think this campaign is a really good opportunity to change the culture that we have in the city at the moment, and I think it's really important that everybody takes responsibility in that, regardless of what your job is, what you do as a normal general member of the public. Everybody has a responsibility to keep people safe and to help women and girls feel safe on their streets.
So this initial idea came about from somebody from one of our bus companies who suggested it would be really good if we could do this training for the drivers, so that they could be a safe space. So the bus would be like a movable safe space. So if somebody was in a difficult situation or they felt uncomfortable or they just needed to get away from a situation, that the bus driver would be a perfect person to help them with that by having that additional knowledge, by saving, for example, the CCTV, giving them information about exactly where it was that they picked them up. Even free passage on the bus, if it just meant getting them a couple of stops further away just to keep them safe.
It needs to be challenged. Normalisation of sexual harassment and sexual violence needs to be challenged, particularly when we look at lower level cases of sexual violence like catcalling, grading women on marks out of 10, how attractive they are. There's so many different ways in which people have allowed sexual harassment to become acceptable. So we need to call that out and tell people that that is not appropriate. And the more we do that, the more people will respond and change that behaviour. If you're a bus driver, I would urge you to really take this campaign seriously and get involved. This is your opportunity to really make a difference, to help protect members of the public, particularly girls and women who often feel unsafe in your workplace. So I would urge you to call out any poor behaviour, any criminal activity, and respond to potential victims appropriately.
Staff watching this video, I hope they gain the confidence and the knowledge in how to identify these situations. I think most times people will have that gut feel and they'll know something's not right, but they may not necessarily know how to intervene or what to do. Some people don't want to intervene for fear of being victimised themselves, or they just don't know how to intervene, or they might make the situation worse. So hopefully this will give people the confidence to do that and intervene and be an active bystander.
I think bus drivers are an ideal person or an ideal group of people to push this campaign to, because we've already said how important it is that people feel safe using public transport.
So if I was to speak to a member of the transport staff, I'd say thank you for being involved in this campaign. You can make a huge difference in how you respond to sexual violence, and your response can send a huge message out to society that actually people, women and girls, can feel safe as a result of your action.